Bingo Blitz rules.
If your bingo has ads in it,
That's not a bingo.
if it doesn't have the coolest tournaments, mini games, and the most breathtaking design,
Nope, not a bingo.
if your bingo moment makes you feel so excited that you just want to burst in joy and scream out loud, bingo! Sorry, so you're playing...
Bingo Blitz? Now that's a bingo. Go for a world of excitement with Bingo Blitz, the #1 free bingo game. Download Bingo Blitz and play for free.
Now that's a bingo.
At Radiolab, we love nothing more than nerding out about science, neuroscience, chemistry.
But we do also like to get into other kinds of stories. Stories about policing or
Politics,
country music,
hockey.
sex, of bugs.
Regardless of whether we're looking at science or not science, we bring a rigorous curiosity to get you the answers.
And hopefully make you see the world anew.
Radiolab, adventures on the edge of what we think we know.
Wherever you get your podcasts.
Let's hang out. Let's hang out. And let's talk about what lessons are found. Let's hang out. And let's listen to two lesbians shout. Let's hang out. Let's hang out.
Hey everyone, welcome back to Let's Hang Out, the podcast that says a little prayer of thanks every day that we also made it out of the closet. From the West Coast, I'm Lee Holmes Foster.
And from the East Coast, I'm Ellie Brigida. To those who've been with us through this whole journey, thank you as always for listening. If you're a new listener, welcome. We're excited to have you here. Here's what's happening this week.
This week in the lesson.
This week in the lesson is a place where you can touch base each episode about things going on with the podcast or otherwise. In season 8, we're still releasing our Patreon bonus episodes, but we're not going to be doing them once a month. They'll be a little more spaced out. Our first one for the season will be out on October 7th, and all 22 episodes so far are up on our Patreon at bit.ly/lespatreon.
We also want to remind everyone that there have been some changes to Patreon. If you support us or any other creators on Patreon, the best thing you can do is to sign up to support people on the Patreon website instead of through the app on your iPhone, just because of some changes for how Apple Pay is requiring Patreon to charge for memberships and things like that. So whether you have a Patreon or not, if you support anybody, it's just good to know about some of the changes, and you can always find out more at patreon.com.
We will also be planning another Les Hangout trip this year. Keep an eye out. We'll have some updates in the next month or two.
In the greater Les universe, that feels like such a bad way to intro this first story.
Mm-hmm.
Listen, we all know Florida Man and all the exploits he gets up to. It's nice to have Florida Woman sometimes. So Florida Woman was arrested for having lesbian threesome in a pool in front of children.
In a public pool, yeah.
In a public pool, with children present. And I hear she was like full on like eating a
Oral.
woman out.
Yeah.
Like in this public pool. Which, listen, we admire
the pool that you see in the air.
we admire your dedication, your tenacity, your lack of sex positivity. We're here for it. But like,
Happy
also,
Pride.
also maybe don't
Not in a public pool, yeah.
question mark.
We've been having,
but anyways, there's
been-
the full body cam footage of her arrest, which is great.
we've been having a lot of
good
very
times.
interesting public sex announcements in this week in the lesson, which is cracking me up. Also, in the Greater Les universe, Oprah and Gayle have finally addressed the gay rumors head on, and they said, "We ain't gay." And to that I say,
Disappointing.
question mark?
Question mark. Yeah. I feel like addressing the gay rumors always feels like a little bit of a
Yeah, I think Gayle also said, like, yeah, it's really hard for me to find a date when everyone thinks I'm dating Oprah. I was like, damn, Gayle, that's pretty funny.
But it's good that they've come out and, you know,
As
made
friends.
a statement. I also love that their statement is like, everyone keeps thinking we're gay, and they probably still think
And they
that.
probably still
And
think
you're
it.
like,
That's
yeah,
literally it.
correct.
And then, yeah,
True story.
and she said, if we were gay, we'd tell you. I'm like, would you?
Question mark.
Also, I'm sorry. Let me just read this real fast. Because I actually haven't done a deep dive into this. Winfrey and King's friendship dates back 50 years. Winfrey offered King to stay at her place for a night during a major snowstorm. And the pair grew close overnight. I'm sorry. Is that not the beginning of a fanfic?
Ellie, they've addressed the gay rumors,
Is
okay?
that not a fanfic? Oh my god. People aren't used to seeing women with this kind of a bond. Oh, that's so
We
funny.
sure are.
We really are.
I don't know about you. I see women with that kind of bond all the time.
I know.
Anyways, another gay news. Julia Fox is going to star in a gay movie. It's called Perfect, and she's going to play a wealthy, pregnant woman living out an escapist fantasy as she falls in love with a younger woman. Played by Ashley Moore, which also I really, it was like a gut punch to be like, she's falling for the younger woman. The actress playing the younger woman is 31 years old. And yeah. So anyways, that was fun. That was a good, nice sentence to read. I don't know too much else about the movie, but looking forward to hearing more about it. It's called Perfect. There you go.
That's what's happening this week. Back to you, Ellie and Lee.
Thanks, Ellie and Lee. We are so excited to bring you episode 2 of season 8, Gated Out. And we are joined by a very special guest today. We have Mal Glowenke, who is a recovering Texas-raised lesbian who brings her unfiltered perspective to conversations with other queer women across the country, digging into everything from relationships to religion, sex, culture, and anything that affects or interests the lesbian community in the Made It Out podcast. Mal, thanks for being here.
Hi, thank you for having me.
So excited to have you here. So why don't you tell our listeners a little bit about your podcast?
Yeah, I mean, Made It Out is a project that I work on with my partner, Mathilde. She's the engine. She is everything behind the camera. And I'm on screen and pretty much everything before we go on to camera. And I don't know. I mean, it started as a project that was literally just like, let's make this little 10-episode series about the coming out process with our friends. We have a beautiful community of, lesbian friends, queer friends here in LA. And so we kind of handpicked people that we knew would be good for these 10 episodes. And we were like, fuck, it's doing well. Like, let's keep going. So it's interesting, like you'll notice the first 10 episodes are something very specific, and then it just kind of got broader, and it's really evolved from there. But it's just, I love it so much. It's literally just, we record it in our bedroom. That's where I am now. And we have our friends over, and I get drunk on my couch and have conversations that I would be having here anyways, So
Yeah, there's just a mic there. Yep.
yeah.
Yeah.
And isn't
Podcasting,
that just like the
real
dream?
gateway drug.
Yes.
Yeah, so it's just something that I love so much, and it's been such a fun journey.
Yeah.
What was like one of your favorite episodes of that first 10?
Oh my God, it's so hard to say because they're all like my really close best friends. So I like
I'm like,
one,
yeah,
please.
I'm like,
I
tell
probably
us which,
shouldn't,
yeah,
you know,
tell us
but tell
which
us
one of
who's
your
the
friends
best
is your
one.
favorite.
I think it's like that's what's so cool about this is each episode is so unique because it's literally just like we kind of give people the opportunity to just be fully themselves and I just try to match the energy. But I don't know. Some of my really close friends, Lexi and Alex Traeger, it's just fun to have them like, this is what we do anyways. And I'm like, okay, let's just, and it's funny because we always would talk about it, be like, let's just, all we need is mics. All we need is a camera. We finally did it. And people were like, oh yeah, that's kind of good. So it's just
All
kinda
you
cool.
needed was a producer,
It
and now
really-
you've got
yeah.
All I needed
there,
was Mathilde, actually.
It really validates, all of your all of those like chaotic conversations you have with your friends. You're like, well, it is validated.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah, which is probably is a dangerous thing.
No, we love it. We love it. That is so awesome. Yeah, I also saw you had, I think maybe it was sort of recently that you had Allison Stoner on, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
What a wild thing. Like we
Yeah.
all watched them growing up and then to just be like in my bedroom, like,
Yeah.
hey, tell me about your life. It was just so wild.
It is
And
so
they were
cool.
such a
Yeah.
they were such a grounding, like beautiful presence.
Yeah, they it's also just been cool to see them like grow into who they are now, because we also had Allison on the podcast like a long time ago. It was like right after they like had written that whole essay about coming out that
Yeah.
I think was it maybe in Vogue or something. I can't remember what it was in.
Wow.
But it was like it was like many. What season do you think that was, Lee? 3? I think it was like maybe 5 years ago.
I was gonna guess 3 or 4. Yeah.
Yeah, it was like super early, and we also were like fangirling so hard because we're like, like this is the person that you saw in like Cheaper by the Dozen and like Camp Rock.
Yeah.
But I agree that like now they have just become such a like important person in the queer community, and also just for like mental health and wellness, that it's like it's been very cool to see.
Yeah.
So when I saw that, I was
I
like,
agree.
yes, Allison.
Well, and not just finding, not just ever like watching people find themselves, but watching people find their queer selves, which is like its own journey and its own kind of like just cool thing to watch, and that I feel like we didn't always get to do growing up. You know, like when we were young, if someone came out, by the time they came out, they were sort of like, oh, I've
Fully
been
fledged gay.
Yeah,
Like, they
yeah,
weren't
yeah.
showing
They're
us
like,
the,
I've
like,
been
awkward bits in between.
hiding under the like in the closet, you know, under the radar for the last 20 years of my homosexuality, and now you get to see this. But we're like,
Right.
no, we kind of actually need to see people going through that journey, going through that self-discovery, going through that second round of puberty that like every queer person's gonna hit at one point, you know, of like
The messy parts.
yeah,
Mhm.
yeah.
And I feel like that was such an interesting part of coming out, was like there's still, or what I felt, because TikTok was like new when I came out, you know, it wasn't like we hadn't really had this like lesbian moment on TikTok yet. So when I came out, it very much was that like, why is nobody talking about this? Like, this is a
Yeah.
rebirth, you know, I'm going through an awakening here. And I can't find any fucking information or any conversations around like what is actually happening to me. And that
Yeah.
was so scary. And like what
WebMD, do
Yeah,
I have
like-
cancer?
Like, yeah, what was happening
What's
to you?
happening?
it's like, you know, that thing like, is this psychosis or a spiritual awakening? It's like, is this psychosis or a gay awakening?
Both. It's a little
What if-
both.
Yeah, it is. It's definitely like both. Yeah.
Well, and tell our listeners a little bit, because we got some of the backstory, obviously, when you reached out, but tell a little bit about your coming out story, because it's right, like this was a little, again, it's a little later in life. You're sort of going through this whole journey of rediscovery and you know, like relearning all of these things about yourself. So what's a little you know, overview of that story?
Yeah, I was late in life les. I lived in Texas for most of my life. I'm born in Chicago, but I grew up for most of my life in Dallas, and just not cool to be gay there when I was there. You know, it was just not the move. And I really conformed. I really went hard and was dating. I always, me and my sister always joke about it. Like, I could have gone down a really scary path. I was dating some men that like are, you know, probably voting not how we are
Yeah.
this election, you know, and
In Texas? No.
yeah,
Hard to
yeah,
imagine.
I mean, but it's just crazy. Like, I was so asleep. I was just like making so many decisions that just were not true to who I actually am. But I think when you grow up in a culture that is just like Bible and hetero and just, you know, so that, and you know,
Yeah.
my family, like I said, I'm from Chicago. My family is very liberal. It wasn't that at home, but I was very much raised by the culture and, you know, going to church with friends. And I chose to get baptized. Actually, a really funny story. I chose to get baptized on my baptism day. It's like in front of the whole congregation, right? And it's like on this stage, and the pastor is like calling me down into the pool. You guys, I fucking slipped and fell into the baptism pool.
Jesus was like, not today.
Yeah, like, that's
somebody's
not
been
a
trying to tell me
sign.
something. Yeah. But I like really went down that road, and it wasn't until I kind of just had like a major breakdown, like a quarter life crisis moment at 25, and visited LA one time. And I was on the plane home, and I said, I'm moving. I called my mom, and I was bawling. I was like, I do not want to fucking leave this place. Like, I love it here. And yeah, I quit my job that I had had for 5 years. It's like a real estate job, and I packed everything I had and I had two boxers at the time, and we moved downtown LA. And the rest is history. I switched my apps and I started figuring out like, oh, this is,
Wow.
it's just interesting. Like when you're exposed to new, any type of new, it just opens you up to like, oh, that's not the only way that I can be. And I think it was very much like that for me. And yeah, I had my first like real relationship during COVID with a woman and kind of came out over, I was a COVID gay. I was a COVID baby gay.
Did you have an inkling like at all growing up, or was it like repressed deep down there?
I mean, I've been gay. I've been gay. Like I was on Craigslist, women seeking women. Like
Wow.
finding people on women seeking women and like meeting up with girls on that. And I had like encounters in Texas. And I talk about this on my podcast. Like I only watched lesbian porn ever. Like I only came one time with men. Like these are signs, you
To be
know?
fair, that's
Honestly,
true of many a straight
I
woman.
was like, actually, you're pretty
Yeah,
lucky that you even got the one time.
I know.
But this is part of the problem, y'all.
We love
Like,
that for you.
No, it is. It is. We've actually had an entire episode about this where we were like, we need to stop, like, straight women need to stop talking about how much they hate men. Because you're like, oh, yeah, I'm straight. Of course. Because, like, every straight woman hates men.
Yeah.
Every straight woman's not attracted to their partner. Like, they have to stop being like, my husband's disgusting. Like, I don't want to sleep with him. And you're like, yeah, me either.
yes.
We're
And
the
now I'm looking
Same.
at those same women. I'm going, you might want to come to LA and figure some shit out, you know?
Yeah. Yeah.
Exactly. But yeah, it is. It's quite confusing. The hetero culture where it's like cool to basically talk like you're a lesbian, but like you have a
Yes.
husband.
But it's definitely not being a lesbian. That's very uncool.
Yes. Yeah,
It's
yeah.
just not being into men in any way whatsoever.
At
It's
all.
great.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a good point. That you have to make that distinction, you know?
Yeah. It's like the you know, like women's form of no homo, you know. It's like I hate my husband, but like definitely not a lesbian. And you're like, okay,
Mhm.
I get
Yeah.
it.
Exactly. We sleep in different beds, and like my friend Barbara sleeps in my bed with me, but like my husband is in another room, but like it's fine. She's just my roommate. You're like,
Yeah.
what is happening?
It's like all these mental gymnastics.
Yeah.
It's like, girl,
Uh-huh.
just figure it out. Come out. Make it out.
Exactly. I
Yeah.
just wish that I could be a lesbian, you know? Like it'd be so much easier. And you're like, yes, it would. So just do it. But that is
how
so crazy.
how was second puberty in LA? How'd that go?
Oh my God. I am living my absolute best life. I truly feel like a veil was lifted. I feel like I see it in full color now. Like I just have done so much unraveling and I live so much truer to myself. I mean, again, not to make it sound like so easy to get from point A to point, where I'm at now, like it is a lot of deep unlearning and a lot of like sitting with yourself and kind of mourning like how many years you've lost and that time spent kind of living a life that isn't true to you. And like it's a lot, but God, better here now than never, better late than never. So and I'm so lucky. Like I think a big part of what's so great about the queer, like being queer is the community that you get, after you kind of figure it out and you meet all these other people who have gone through this same thing and they've done so much deep work on themselves. And you kind of just walk into a room and you're like, oh God, okay, you're here, I'm here. Like, holy shit, can you believe what we just went through? And it's just this,
Yeah.
I don't know, it's this beautiful space. And
Yeah.
I think that, I mean, obviously it's so great. I love my partner so much. And I just admire her and I love our relationship and she makes me so happy. But I mean, a part of that is just our community and the people around us. And I just feel so lucky. I feel so lucky to be gay. I love it. This is why all I do is talk about it.
It's the best thing. It's like the
Yeah.
best thing ever. I agree. You know what's funny too is it's like that doesn't go away is what's great about it. Is like, I've been out since 2003, and I'm like, I still just want to sit down every week and talk to Ellie about like how fucking great is being the gayest. That's
Yes.
the best thing. It's just,
I love hearing that.
And yeah, I'm so surprised by people who are like, being gay isn't the most important part of me. Like, I don't need to talk about it. I'm like, what?
Isn't that so interesting?
It is, right? I'm like, what do you mean?
but it's the best thing. It's
Yeah.
like,
I'm like, yes, we
it's
have
so
other
great.
parts of our personality, sure, but like, what?
yeah.
So I'm curious, did you guys go through the whole thing where you kind of, because so I went from like straight to like gay, and
Yeah.
it was like whiplash, right? But then it was like I just dove headfirst into this gay life and really have like a lot of my straight friendships and my straight life kind of fell away. I don't know, that's been hard for me. Like being gay has become a huge part of my existence and my
Yeah.
job and like all of
Mhm.
it.
Yeah.
And like, oops. But like, I don't know. I feel like that is, to me, it's normal. But I don't know. I'm curious if you guys had a lot of that same thing where you
Well,
kind of just like go the
you
opposite
came
way.
out, you started, Ellie, because you came out later.
Yeah, but I also feel like maybe it's like a little bit different for me just because of like I like grew up in Boston, which is like not
Mm.
Dallas. Right. So
Famously not. Yes.
so I do feel like I was straight, but like people were like, girl, you've been gay. Like they like knew. So I don't feel
Okay.
like people were surprised or like, but there was definitely a piece of it. Not necessarily that I like lost straight friends, but I would say that it was more like I have friends from college who would say like, I hated straight Ellie. Like where they're like the straight version of you, like I didn't want to be friends with because you weren't being yourself.
Right.
So for me, I feel like it was the opposite where it was like I gained more friends. Well, it's probably the same for you. You do have more friends now that are gay, but it was like even my straight relationships, like people who were straight who I was friends with, I feel like I have stronger bonds with them now because there's not like this barrier. Like there always was this like little
Yeah.
barrier where I was like, I can't get too close to you because like maybe I'll spill something that I'm not supposed to.
Yeah. Oh, I love that. That's so beautiful.
Yeah. So for me, that was my personal experience.
I mean, I never even met straight Ellie, and I can't imagine I'd like her as
No,
much, you know?
no.
What a
But I
shame. What a
definitely like
shame.
I
What a
definitely was
loss.
I know. I definitely was quite quick to run out of the closet. But I will share one funny like you know, like when you come out sometimes you're like, I'm bisexual, and then you're like, no, I'm really not. So there was this moment where I was I was literally like making out with a guy friend of mine and I started crying.
Oh man.
And as I'm literally bawling, he's like, what's wrong with you? And I was like, I think I'm bisexual. And it's like, girl, if you're bisexual, you wouldn't be crying making out with this man. Like, that would not be a problem.
That'd be totally fine, actually, and normal and
Yeah.
expected.
I was like, I'm too bisexual to kiss you.
I'm like the
Actually
most
love that.
bisexual, like so bisexual.
I'm
I'm not
so
attracted to men at all in
bisexual.
any way.
No, and he honestly, like, he is one of my straight friends who's honestly so sweet. Like, like, after I started crying, he was like, all right, like, I'm gonna hug you. Like, it's okay. Everything's fine.
Oh.
He's like, sure, honey, bisexual.
He's like,
I
you're
hear
not,
ya.
he's like, I'm not offended. It's okay. I'm not deeply offended by you bawling while you're kissing me. But yeah, so I was very like, okay, that was the very brief moment where I was like, maybe I'm bi, and then clearly I'm not. Went straight through as fast as I could. Yeah.
I feel like I had a kind of similar moment, and I feel like this is something that I've heard a lot of talking to like gay women is like there's that moment of kind of like reckoning where it's like I was still kind of working like a nightlife job, and there was this guy who's beautiful, like foreign man, and he was like, let me take you out, like, whatever. And he's like, here's my number, like, call me. And I sat there with the number and I was like, do I want to call? It's like this perfect situation of someone who's like nice and hot and, whatever. And I was like, nope, I actually really deeply don't. And that's when I was like, I'm definitely gay, you know?
Yep.
But I feel like that's
Yep.
common of these
Yeah.
experiences.
You're
where
like,
it's
if
your
not
face.
you, then
Exactly.
who
I
would
was
it
like,
be?
this is my best friend in the world. He's the sweetest man. And yeah, and I was like, nothing. I got nothing
Yes.
here. Yeah. Do not feel a thing. Lee, how about you? I mean, I feel like your experience was probably a little different because you were in high school.
Yeah, I feel like that's the thing is it's like you're saying, you know, oh, sometimes you come out as bisexual first and then like just keep moving along the path. Like that's exactly what I did because I was, you know, like 16 at the time or whatever. And so it's like you sort of start with the like, oh, I'm clearly not straight and I was, you know, I was like in the GSA already, and so you're like, I'll be a proud member of the community here. But like I was clearly just taking on an identity that was not correct for me, which is not to say people don't come out as bisexual and are bisexual. It just wasn't, I was not. I was so not. But I think the problem is like I was young, not in the sense that it was like I was too young to come out as gay, but I think in the sense that like I couldn't identify a lot of these feelings correctly yet. Cause like I dated guys, you know, but like only recently. And I wasn't like hugely horrified by it. Like I wasn't into it clearly as much as like because I remember like I went to the movies with like the first girl I ever dated and we like held hands and I was like, what is happening in my body, right? Which had like never happened with my boyfriend, but when I was with my boyfriend, like we were good friends, we used to have a great time hanging out, like we played video games and and like we were totally into all the same stuff and we like had a great time, and then we'd like make out and I was like, this is fun, someone likes me, like that feels good when you're 16 years old, you know, and like, not to say that I wasn't like the coolest kid in high school, but like, you know, I was not the coolest kid in high school. And so you're like, wow, someone wants to date me. Like that makes you feel good. So I think it was like, I didn't identify the fact that I was like, I'm not attracted to him.
Totally.
But the sense of like being desired in any way was like, oh, I enjoy that, you know? And then I like actually was attracted to someone and I was like, oh my God, this is different.
I totally resonate with that. I felt I that was me till I was 25.
Yeah,
I was
it's like
validation seeking.
Yes.
It's like,
yes.
okay, like,
but the
this is what I'm supposed to want.
validation outweighed a lot at 16 when I was like, listen, I've always been like kind of nerdy, kind of like a high achieving, like, you know, like smart ass kid, and also like always looked like I was approximately 9 years old. So like I didn't get a lot of action in high school, let's be real. You know?
But you would not just say the word action, like that just doesn't feel good.
It was just not a good situation all around, okay? Why don't you really build me up, Ellie? Thank you. I love that.
Sorry, Lee. You should have been getting so much action in high school.
So much. So I feel like the thing is, for me, I was like, oh, like I was okay dating a guy and like I'm clearly into girls, so like I'm bisexual. There you go. And then what I always say is I'm like, I feel like over time I just continuously get gayer. Like it's just never stopped. Since then, it's just like a straight downhill roll to like giant dike all the way around, and like you can't get away from it.
I feel like
So,
how can you get gay? Like what's the increments in which you can get gayer? Like if you feel like you're at 100% gay, then what do you go
I don't
to?
think I'll ever hit 100% gay, Ellie. There's always room to grow, you know?
So what percentage? What percentage of gay do you think you are? Everyone answer the question.
You first, Mal. What percent gay are you?
Where's the room for
actually,
growth?
this is a really interesting and could get like deep question, because if you're asking me just on a level of like, do I only like women, love women on every level,
Yeah.
then I'm 100% gay. But if you're asking me like, have I done all of the unraveling to like completely shed the male gaze and like figure out, you know, all of that? Oh God, I have so much work to do on that. You know, I feel like I'd like to say I'm about 55, a little bit over that. But
you know what?
I feel like I got a lot of learning to do, you know? Sometimes I still wear a heel and I'm like, why the fuck am I doing this? Nope. These women don't expect me to wear pumps. That's ridiculous.
No. I haven't worn heels in years. Listen, there's always room to grow is what I'm saying, okay? And I'm 5'2". I could really use them, but like who's got the time?
Who's got the like balance?
They don't go with my little boys button-down shirts is all I'm saying, okay? It's just
I feel like if you were wearing
not the
heels, Lee,
vibe.
it would feel like drag if you wore heels.
It really would,
Yeah.
honestly. It would be weird.
And that's okay. Honestly, that's a great answer, though. That's a very nuanced answer. I also like, and I find that actually that you're right. That's a good one too, because I feel like if you're talking about that for me in terms of the unraveling of the shit, I would say I'm maybe at like an 80.
Oh, that's great.
But I agree. There's always some shit. Like there will be times when like, yeah, like a random man will hit on me and I'll be like, sure, I'll give you my number. And I'm like, what the fuck?
For what reason?
Like
a real number? You'd give a guy a real number?
Like why did I do that? No, there was literally a time. It like recently happened in April where I was in Istanbul, like me and my sister went on this trip. And this man was like our tour guide. And it was just the compat was so strong that he asked me for my number and like I was like, and I think it's that other piece too where you're just like, I'm scared to not give you my number right now.
Yeah.
So I was like, fine. And I gave him my number, but I was like, you're so gay. Like, you're so gay. Like, I also have a girlfriend. Like, literally none of this. Like, why am I giving this man my number?
Nothing's
like,
making sense.
Literally none of it. None of it.
It's like an out-of-body experience.
Yeah. I was like, is it like, I don't know, like, Istanbul Ellie has turned straight because the culture is so heteronormative? Like, I don't know. It was
I
so
love
weird.
the idea that there's some random guy in Istanbul, like, really thinking he has a shot with you. I kind of...
100%.
Honestly, it was actually intense. Like, I ignored him after a while, but, like, he called me. He texted me to try to meet up with me. It was, like, really, actually, I was like, why did I do this?
See, I'm not there. Like, I could never do that because I have a fear of men. I've like gone so far where I'm like, I'm very scared of men now, actually. But my thing is more like the male gaze that I still struggle with. Like that, this like idea of what a woman is supposed to look like. And like seeing myself outside of anything that isn't that is still hard for me. But like if I see a man, I'm running the other way. I'm not even getting close enough for this guy to even ask me for a number.
But you haven't done, did you go through any of the, like, because we talk a lot about the sort of like, you know, the stereotypes of gay puberty of the like, I'm going hard mask, we're doing the short haircut, we're doing the like it doesn't seem like you had that, you know, sort of like deep dive into the like all the awkward phases of that.
No, on a smaller level. So part of my story is I had a lot of plastic surgery when I lived in Dallas. I was really trying to fit into this ideal of a woman, and I had really gigantic boobs, like quadruple D boobs. I had a butt lift. I had liposuction. I mean, just like so many things. When I finally started to kind of come out and started doing this like deep unraveling, I was like, holy shit, like what have I been doing? What have I done? And so part of the last, like really kind of when I finally had come out to my entire family, everybody back home, I was really out here. I had met my girlfriend. I actually had surgery to get those boobs out. And I feel like that was like a really big transition for me of like, okay.
That might count more than a haircut, you know, that's that's valid.
Pretty big, you know. But again, legit. Like, you know, I still find myself in that struggle because, you know, now I'm this opposite way where those aren't there anymore. And sometimes I find myself missing them and I'm like, why? I hated them, you know, but I think it is. That's why I say like, I mean, it's just so strong that like ideal and that the male gaze and like who we are trying to please.
Well, and that's so much more than just comp het too, because now it's like you're fighting against this whole weight of the patriarchy, like that, you know, dumped on top of you from who knows what age of like trying to live up to this Texas Americana trophy wife,
totally,
you know, ideal. I think unpacking from that counts too. That's
Yeah, so I haven't reached my boy haircut phase, but the thing is like, God, wouldn't that be so nice to get there? Like, I want that for myself because I really do feel like that is just so like free. Like when you are just living for what you want and what you like and what brings
Yeah.
you joy and what brings you pleasure, like I don't know exactly what that looks like for me. And I think I'm really still in that part of my life where I'm figuring that out. But I admire the people that are just like, yeah, I'm doing this and I'm doing that. And like, I love that. And I love that about the queer community. I think that's what's so beautiful about all of us is like, to some level, we've had to do that,
Yeah.
all of us. And so who knows? Who knows? Maybe next time you see me.
Completely chopped off. Well, I think
Get one of these bad boys, you know?
Yeah. I think there's also like just like varying levels and degrees of like what you do to be like, let me like feel a bit more comfy and like maybe present a bit more gay. But like for me, I've always just been like more femme in general. So I'm like, I'm never getting the short haircut. Like it's not my vibe. But there's also
Right.
like then it's like, okay, but like what are the things that like you said are like taken away from the male gaze? Like I hate bras. And like for like most of my life, it's like you're like you have to wear a bra because like nipples are bad and you can't show them, right? And so like that whole thing of like not wearing a bra when you go outside the house, like that is my like, okay, this is my like gay liberation. I don't care if you can see my nipples, everyone. So like, just
Free
like
the nips.
free the nips.
Free
Yes.
the nips.
You will
There
never
go.
catch me in a bra. I'm sorry.
No,
Years. I'm like, no, I won't do it.
no. Get rid of it.
Listen, I think you've earned that right at this point.
Yeah.
You've paid for that, okay?
Twice
You did your
over.
time in the
Twice over.
trenches. That's fine. Yeah.
I love that. I love that.
Okay, let's take a quick break. Hear from some sponsors. We're going to be right back. This episode is sponsored by BetterHelp. And as we head into Thanksgiving time, I want to start by thanking my wife, Kelsey, who has not only listened to just about every episode of this podcast for 8 seasons now, but who also is the only reason I'm able to make time to record it every week. She takes the kids, gets them dinner, and gets them ready for bed just so that Ellie and I can come on and yell about gay things into each other's faces for an hour. So here's a reminder to send some thanks to the people you're grateful for in your life, including yourself. I've been in therapy for a long time now, and one thing that's so important about therapy is how it teaches you to be more intentional. And being intentional about gratitude and how to show that to the people you appreciate is just one of the many benefits that I've gotten from therapy over the years. If you've been thinking of starting therapy, consider giving BetterHelp a try. I know how hard it can be to find time for regular therapy, and BetterHelp is designed to be flexible and convenient for your schedule. You can fill out a brief questionnaire to get matched with a licensed therapist, and you can switch therapists at any time for no additional charge. If you want to start being more intentional about gratitude in your life, visit betterhelp.com/letshangout today to get 10% off your first month. That's BetterHelp, HELP.com/letshangout.
Let's hang out.
For many businesses, the holiday season can be both an exciting and stressful time. With so many balls in the air, one thing you definitely want to know you can rely on is how you're selling your products. And with Shopify, you can rest easy knowing it's the home of the #1 checkout on the planet. Nobody does selling better than Shopify. And when it comes to successful brands like Aloe, Allbirds, or Skims, an often overlooked secret is all the things that go on behind the scenes that make selling and, for shoppers, buying simple. For millions of businesses, if you take a peek behind that curtain, you'll see that Shopify is what makes it all possible. Shop Pay boosts conversions up to 50%, so that's more happy customers and way more sales going. It's true all the time, but especially this time of year, your commerce platform better be ready to sell wherever your customers are scrolling or strolling, on the web, in your store, in their feed, and everywhere in between. Businesses that sell more sell on Shopify. Upgrade your business and get the same checkout we use for Realm merch with Shopify. Sign up for your $1 per month trial period at shopify.com/realm, all lowercase. Go to shopify.com/realm to upgrade your selling today. Shopify.com/realm. For many businesses, the holiday season can be both an exciting and stressful time. With so many balls in the air, one thing you definitely want to know you can rely on is how you're selling your products. And with Shopify, you can rest easy knowing it's the home of the #1 checkout on the planet. Nobody does selling better than Shopify. And when it comes to successful brands like Aloe, Allbirds, or Skims, an often overlooked secret is all the things that go on behind the scenes that make selling, and for shoppers, buying, simple. For millions of businesses, if you take a peek behind that curtain, you'll see that Shopify is what makes it all possible. Shop Pay boosts conversions up to 50%, so that's more happy customers and way more sales going. It's true all the time, but especially this time of year, your commerce platform better be ready to sell wherever your customers are scrolling or strolling, on the web, in your store, in their feed, and everywhere in between. Businesses that sell more sell on Shopify. Upgrade your business and get the same checkout we use for Realm merch with Shopify. Sign up for your $1 per month trial period at shopify.com/realm, all lowercase. Go to shopify.com/realm to upgrade your selling today. Shopify.com/realm.
Hey, do you like true crime? Me too. And I know what you're thinking. There's so many true crime pods out there, you've already heard all the stories. Well, what if I were to tell you you're wrong? I'm Leroy Luna, the host of Excuse Me, That's Illegal, the podcast that takes a hardcore look at softcore crime. I've got a back catalog of hundreds of bizarre and hilarious stories just waiting to be heard by you. So come join me. Excuse Me, That's Illegal is available anywhere you get your favorite podcasts, with new episodes dropping on the 10th, 20th, and 30th every month, baby!
I actually wanted to bring us back around. I'm loving this conversation, just like talking about gay shit coming out and everything. But I want to bring us back to the podcast because you do have a new series that I think maybe just came out last week, made it out to the polls.
Yeah, gosh, where do we start? We are partnering with LPAC, which is a lesbian political action committee. We're basically just, growing up in Texas, I think there's an active, how do I want to say this? They don't want you to care, they don't teach you to care. And I think that's on purpose. I won't get into but that's a whole other conversation.
Break down the American political system for us. In 5 minutes or less, please.
I know, right? But I do think that there's a reason for that. And I think I'm not going to say a victim, because I think we all need to take action in caring about what's going on in the world. And but I was complicit in that, and for a long time I wasn't a voter and I didn't pay attention, and I was one of those people that thought, oh, this doesn't affect me, like whatever, and that's a very, very privileged mindset. And it took people that I really love and respect having the love and respect for me to say that that's not okay to think that way, and you need to care, and you need to wake the fuck up. And I think also coming out was a part of that, and realizing like, oh, this does deeply affect me. And I just feel like if I felt like that, then there are other people out there right now who probably also feel that way and think that, oh, this doesn't really have an effect on me. And so I want to speak to those people, because I think these are the people that we need to get to make it out to the polls, you know what I mean? And come out if we want a chance at winning this year, winning the election. So we're partnering with them. We're going to talk to candidates that they endorse, and each one is just going to kind of come on and speak about a different issue that affects the LGBT community, and also kind of tie it to a personal story. I think sometimes that helps people when you humanize these issues, and when you humanize politics. I think that's what we need to do. We need to have these conversations and have real conversations about why these things matter, and how these things affect us at a really large level, and also at a very, very small level, and we just want to get people out to fucking vote, because holy shit.
Can I ask,
Get
like,
out to
what were
fucking vote.com.
Yeah.
You heard it here, and you'll hear it on Made It Out to the Polls. But can I ask, like, what were the things when you were sort of going through that process? Like, what were the hardest parts to kind of get by? Like, what were the biggest hurdles to realizing, like, oh no, actually, like, this is a thing I should care about. Like, this is something I should be involved in.
I think that it first started with just very small corrective things, like having people in your life who hold you accountable to say that, hey, like what you just said, like, let's hold on, let's stop there and let's think about it and kind of, you know, unravel that. And my sister has been that person in our family. And like I said, my family is not, I don't come from a conservative background. I don't come from a family that, you know, had like really staunchly like, you know, alt-right, staunch alt-right views. But, you know, we all have internalized racism, homophobia, just, you know, a laundry list. And so I think my sister in our family was the person to every single time stop us and say, hey, stop. Hey, think about this, you know? And I love her for that. And I'm so thankful for that. So I think that's where it started. And then, you know, the more times that happens, the more you just go, okay, you know, it works. And then I think when I was living in Texas and I was starting to just feel uncomfortable there, I didn't know that it was because of my queerness, but I had a really big thing around men. I just was like, I am never going to meet a man I want to be with here. I hate the men here. They have really disgusting views. Like, you know, and that kind of started to get my wheels turning of like, what is this? And my sister actually recommended a few podcasts to me. The two that really got me into things were Pod Save America and The Daily. And they really just woke me up to the world. And I'm so grateful. And when I moved to LA, I think then you're faced with, especially living downtown LA, you know, I had never seen an unhoused person in Dallas. And then you move to LA and it's like, I remember feeling gutted. Like, and I remember thinking to myself, I never want to become callous to this feeling. Like, because I think there's value in having those two worldviews. You know, there's value in coming from something that is just so one way and then being exposed to something that is just so completely different. And I remember sitting in that and being like, I don't ever want to look at this and think that this is normal. And, you know, and that was pretty formative, I think, because it just makes you want to dig deeper and like, why are things this way? And what, and then of course, COVID happens, BLM happens. And then, you know, it was just kind of this slow unraveling and this slow learning of a lot of things and then unlearning of a lot of different things that when this opportunity presented, it was just kind of perfect. Like this is how my very first introduction to politics was podcast. And I think that if you have people's attention for an hour or 30 minutes or, you know, 45 minutes, long form, like you have an audience that trusts you and you have their attention. And that's a big ask when people are scrolling through TikTok for 2 seconds, 3 seconds, not even 1 second, and they're on to the next thing. And when you can get someone, a group of a large group of people to sit down and hear what you have to say, you have to use that in the right way. And this is a moment where we can do that. And I hope that we can do that.
I'd vote for you. Honestly, love it, love it, love it, love it. I'm guessing too you have people on like more local, like if you have like, right, you have like how many episodes? 6 episodes?
We are traveling, girl.
So where have you traveled?
We were just in DC. We interviewed Senator Tammy Baldwin, which was incredible. She is the first out lesbian in the Senate and is the one who really championed the Respect for Marriage Act. So to talk to someone who's just really out there fighting for our rights was absolutely incredible. And she's just the sweetest woman ever. And this week we're in Texas. Next week we're in Chicago. We're actually going to the DNC. Then I think we're possibly in Minnesota. We're kind of all over the place. So I'm really excited about it. We're talking to some really great people who have just absolutely incredible stories and personal stories, you know, that kind of tie into their policies. So I'm very excited for everybody to see it.
I love it too because I feel like there's this thing that I think like queer people always like know about, that I don't always know if like straight people know about, which is that there's like queerness as like your part of your identity in terms of like your sexuality, but then there's also this idea of like queerness as a political ideology, kind of, you know, where it's like that's where you get all of these things where it's like I think queer people tend to, as a whole, like, yeah, be a little bit more involved, invested, like aware, you know, like sort of educated about the issues and stuff like that. And I love that. Like I think I was talking to Ellie about it recently, that it's like we go to my wife and I go to like a queer trivia night in Berkeley near us, and it's like it's queer trivia not in the sense of like, do you know little queer factoids and stuff, but it's like, do you know what's happening in your local politics? Do you know this big thing that happened in like the, you know, that someone voted on today? Like, do you know what's happening with like AOC's articles of impeachment and like all, you know, like all this stuff? And it's like,
I love
it's so cool. I'm like, it's so cool because it's not like, you know, hey, do you know which lesbian was dating this person? Which is like,
Which
totally
like we
valid.
still know. Yeah.
And like we fucking love that queer trivia too. But it's like
also important, but yes.
also valid, also real. But it's basically just, you know, it's like I brought a coworker and his partner for the first time last night. They came with us and they were like, wow, I learned so much tonight. This was amazing. And I was like, yes,
When you
it's
gamify
great.
anything, look, I think I would be so much smarter if everything in school would have been a game or a musical.
Yeah.
I mean, come on.
So
Schoolhouse
ADHD
Rock.
is what we're saying. Okay, got it.
Yes, sure.
Yes, sure.
Understandable.
We hear you. We hear what you're saying. Yes. We know nothing about it.
Wait, so are you a musical theater gay?
100%. Are you kidding?
Amazing. So
Hit
are
us
me.
up.
So are we.
Oh my
surprise,
God.
surprise.
We don't have to put this in here, but just as an aside, have you guys seen O'Mary yet? Play, not a
No.
musical.
No, and I want
Please,
to so
everyone,
badly.
go see O'Mary. Hands down, one of the best shows I've ever seen in my life. I'm obsessed.
I
But
feel
yes.
like part of me assumes Ellie's just dying to ask you what your sign is, but you know, it's fine.
No, I was
Ooh,
gonna
what do
say
you
I
think
was
my
gonna say
sign
what your
is?
favorite musical is, but
Oh, that too. Yeah.
Why, you know, when people ask you these questions and then you just like fucking blank, that's the moment
Yes,
I'm
yeah.
having. Go to my sign and then we'll ask me what my favorite musical
all right, I don't want to guess.
Part of the problem,
Guessing the sign is too stressful because if you guess something that people are like, "What the fuck? Why would you ever say
People have
that?"
strong feelings.
It's not.
I always forget
don't-
that
I
because I
can't-
have zero feelings about it, and so
I can't do it.
don't care. But
I'm
that's
so
true.
used to just like my sign is one of those that everybody's like, that's the worst sign. So I'm like,
Sag.
okay, fine.
No,
no, not
Sorry.
that one. Not that one.
Sorry, I wasn't gonna guess.
I'm a Gemini. I'm Gemini, Leo,
Okay, yeah, that
Pisces.
makes sense. That makes sense. People, yeah, the Geminis get a bad rap. That's so
they
funny.
really do, and I'm like, I think being a Gemini is fun.
Yeah, I think it's
Maybe not for you all, but I'm fine.
I'm having
You're
a
having a
great
blast.
time.
Yeah, you're having a blast. You just want to be around a Gemini like 50% of the time. That's fine.
My poor partner, my poor Matilde.
But
It
there's
was-
there's no best or worst sign,
No.
except for like clearly Pisces and Gemini seem pretty great. That's all I know. Okay, I'm not into
That's it.
astrology, so you
That's
can
it.
take my word for it.
It's fine. I'm like, I accept the wateriness of my life. It's fine.
That's why Ellie and I get along so well. It's just
I'm like, I could cry at the drop of a hat, and it's fine. I'm happy
Same.
with it.
I'm always crying, and it's like to a point where I don't think my partner takes my tears seriously anymore. You know?
Yeah.
Do you experience that? It's
Yeah.
like sucks because it's like, no, I'm actually feeling this, and I'm feeling it really deep, and these tears are real. I know I just had tears 10 minutes ago, but that was about a different thing that I felt just as deep about.
Mm-hmm. As your
But I think
partner-
people
as your
around you
partner-
start to be like,
yeah, I'm like, is your partner an earth sign?
Taurus,
Yeah. Knew it.
very
Here's-
grounded.
here. If I don't know if this
My-
will help
my
at all
girlfriend is
or
also a
not,
Virgo.
but as
So?
someone who also sometimes feels like that, where I'm like, no, I'm having like big, strong feelings that I still need to have like validated. I don't cry at all, so it's not about the tears. I'll just put it that way.
Wait,
I
how
also-
are you
it's
getting your
so-
emotions out?
Yeah. What do you do? Yelling?
No, you
I-
gotta cry. You gotta cry.
We must learn how to cry, Lee.
I literally, all my friends and even my girlfriend, I'm like, we have to cry. Like, we have to make you. It doesn't even matter. Like, if it's like, go watch a sad movie or something. It's a relief.
It doesn't make me cry.
Yeah.
Oh,
It doesn't make me cry.
God.
Can I tell you the funniest thing? Because when I was pregnant, my hormones, I was crying at fucking everything. I was finally like that person who'd like cry at a commercial, and I was always like, what is happening to me? Like, why are my feelings coming out of my face all of a sudden? I'm not ready for this. I was unprepared to handle it, and it seems like, honestly, it was a lot.
Maybe you need
Yeah,
to
it
just
is.
like get on pregnancy hormones again.
Yeah, just all the time. I think that would be the best option
Just
here.
be pregnant
I had
always.
such a good run of it, you know? Really enjoyed that.
Get pregnant again so you can cry.
Oh God.
It was a lot, Ellie. It was a lot.
I think I veered the conversation enough.
So voting is what we're saying, yeah? Okay. We nailed it.
So unless you're a Sagittarius, go out and vote. No, I'm just kidding. Or
Have you
Sagittarius.
considered
No,
crying your way to the polls? Okay.
Honestly, I
we've got
actually
it.
have a few good friends who are Sagittarius, so I really don't want any Sages in our audience to be turned off by this. I love you all.
So maybe what I want to talk about real quick before we sort of wrap things up is I'm curious to hear a little bit more about just what the transition was like from the Dallas, Texas straight life to now the like, I'm an LA lesbian who's gonna help you get out and vote. Like, what's that? How's that transition gone? What's that like?
Doesn't it feel like whiplash?
It's a little, yeah, it's a lot.
And I'm sure for everyone in my life too, it was like, whoa, you know. I don't know. I'm kind of a person that works like that. I'm like, I very much work at extremes, and it's my best quality and my worst. Sometimes it works out really fucking well, and sometimes it's a disaster. And that's just like kind of the way I do things. I think the transition, once I realized what was happening, was very easy. It was a very easy switch. I'm also someone who doesn't really look back. I'm kind of like, all right, this is what it is now. And I think there's something too coming out later in life, because you're very sure of who you are in a lot of other ways. You have your footing in a lot of other ways. So it's not something to where you're like, you know, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, and you have raging hormones, and you know, you're grounded and all these things are going on, and you're also gay, you know. It's like, when I had the understanding, it was like, oh, I didn't have to second guess it, you know. It was as an adult, it's much easier to just go, well, okay, that's that, and now I guess this is what I have to deal with, you know. It didn't feel frantic, and actually it felt really just like, oh my God, like this is what has been causing all the commotion and all the chaos. And I mean, I am very lucky that I have a great family. I knew that no matter what, they love me and they're going to support me, and I have a very small family. We don't have a lot of extended family, cousins, or, you know, even grandparents. It's literally the five of us, and we ride really fucking hard for each other. And so I knew like that is not going to be an issue. And it was nice being here because nobody knew me. I didn't know one person when I moved to LA. I was literally sitting in bars
Wow.
having a drink by myself, trying to make friends, you know? So
That's
it was
so
very
hard.
much, yeah, it's not for the faint of heart, but you know, I think
Yeah.
if you can do it, it's so rewarding, and it's hard, but at the same time, when you are reinventing yourself in any sort of way, it kind of makes that so much easier because nobody knows you and you can try on different things. And when I was here, it was kind of like nobody met me as really like straight Mal. It was just like, I'm Mal, and yeah, I'm dating women. And nobody had this like whiplash moment here. It was kind of just like, oh yeah, that's Mal, you know? Whereas I think going home to some of the people that I grew up with back home, and some of the people who I still have had connections with, very few, because I think there's so many differences and very just like fundamental differences in a lot of people there. Not all, and I don't want to generalize, but in the people that I was around, a lot of those people I kind of, when I left, I never talked to again. But the few that I had had around for a really long time, that was the hardest part of them being like, this isn't you, this isn't the Mal that I know. And I think there was an adjustment period there, but
Yeah. Do you think it would have been different if you'd come out earlier? Do you think it would have just been the same at like a different time?
I think if I would have come out in Texas, my life would look very different. I don't think I ever would have ended up there. But I'm also just one of those people that I'm woo woo. I'm doing the sage and the journaling and the tarot cards and the astrology. And I don't know, like I have this faith and this connection to something. And I really deeply believe that we end up where we are supposed to be when we are supposed to be there, and nothing is mistake. And I know there's circumstance that you're put in that I'm not saying, I'm not saying it in a toxic way of like, because I realize that there are real struggles and people go through things and they don't deserve to be there. But I just think to make meaning out of life and to make meaning out of some of the struggle, the way I choose to look at things is I'm where I'm supposed to be, and to make the best out of it and to try to help other people with the lessons that I've learned. So I don't know. I don't really look back on things like that or in that way. And I'm happy with the way it happened. I made it out.
You did make it out.
Made it out.
We are here.
Wow, you really landed
that was such a good finale. You really crushed it.
Plug.
All right, are we ready? We're gonna head into our Q and gay. Question number 1: when did you come out? A, as a kid, B, in high school, C, in college, or D, later in life?
Late in life.
There's no
Late
wrong
life
time.
les,
There's no
baby.
wrong time.
We love the alliteration.
I know. Okay, question 2. What % gay are you? A, 0 to 25. B, 25 to 50%. C, 50 to 75. Or D, 75 to 100.
Okay, for just like simple, quick, I'm going 75 to 100.
Nice.
Love it.
All right.
Listen to the episode if you want the full answer.
If you've gotten to this point, hopefully you understand the nuances of this question. All right. Question number 3. Are you registered to vote? Yes or no?
Of course. Fucking vote. Fucking check today. Register to vote. Jesus Christ.
We will also add a link
No
so you
pressure,
can register.
but fucking register to vote, everyone. Okay. Question 4. What identity do you most feel like out of A, East Coast gay, B, West Coast gay, C, Southern gay, or D, Midwest gay?
I'm a West Coast gay.
West
With
Coast,
Southern
West Coast.
roots.
Who
I
said
have y'all
that?
tattooed
Who said
here.
that?
Nice.
There you go.
Honestly, that's a very difficult question, Lee. That's a very broad. Every single
why I
person
didn't-
on the West Coast is not the same.
I know they're not,
But it's
it
easier
can
for
be
the multiple
whichever
choice.
West Coast
It's easier,
gay you
easier.
feel like.
Much easier. Yeah, not all East Coast gays are made the same either, but it's okay.
Yeah.
All right. Question number 5. Are you more of an A, take life by the horns, B, go with the flow, or C, pave my own way kind of person?
I think I'm definitely paved my own way. I push and force. and force.
Like, this
I'm a
way is gonna
manifester,
work.
you know?
Yeah. We love that for you. Amazing. Well, Mal, thank you so much for hanging out with us. This has been so lovely.
This was so fun, y'all. Thanks for having me.
Let our listeners know where they can find your podcast, where they can find you on all the social medias.
Yeah, we're Made It Out podcast everywhere. And I'm Mal Glowenke at Mal Glowenke on Instagram, at Mal Glow on TikTok.
Amazing. Made It Out and Made It Out to the Polls just
Yes.
came out last week. Check it out if you haven't yet.
Let me hear you say hip, 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 well, yeah.
We love hearing from all of you. We love continuing to build this community, and we just want to shout out some of our favorite things every episode. And I want to shout out this comment that we got on Instagram from Puppy Paws, who loved to comment on our Xenon episode that the song Zoom 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 still pops into their head all
It's
the
so
time,
catchy.
which is just, that is such a perfect encapsulation. I cannot tell you how many people were like, oh my god, I can't believe
Zoom,
you
zoom,
did Xenon.
zoom.
And I'm like, yeah,
I mean, as we should. Yeah.
as we should.
We'd also like to thank our Lesbian Jesus patrons, Mark Foster,
Lisette Stye,
Adi Benitez,
Sophia Phillips,
and Armani Gucci.
and our King Princess patrons, Amy and Ellen.
And Andrea Doucette, thank you so much. We cannot continue to make the podcast without you.
Remember, you can also find us on all the social medias. We are on Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, and TikTok at Let's Hang Out Pod.
You can email us at letshangoutpod@gmail.com.
You can check out our website at letshangoutpod.com.
Whatever app you use for podcasts, make sure you subscribe so you'll be the first to know when new episodes drop.
We also have videos going up on our YouTube channel, so make sure you subscribe at youtube.com/letshangoutpod to catch those.
Let's Hang Out is an independently produced show hosted by us with audio production by me. Our production assistant is Kristen Murison, and various other shenanigans by Lee Holmes Foster.
If you want to help support the podcast, there are so many ways to do that. The first one is leave us a rating and a review wherever you listen to podcasts. It helps new people find the show.
If you want to support us on Patreon, you can do that at bit.ly/lespatreon. It is the best way to support the show and help us continue to make it, to pay Kristen, to pay for all of the other expenses that we have with our podcast. You also get bonus episodes. You get Patreon-only Discord chat, and it is a blast. So join at bit.ly/lespatreon.
If you want to buy some Let's Hang Out merch, we are migrating all of our merch to our own website. You can find it at bit.ly/lesmerch. We are adding new designs and new products that we have not had access to previously. So if you want to go and check out what we have already, we do have new things like hats and beanies and fanny packs and things like that. We have iced coffee cups, like little tumbler things. But you can also make sure that you hit us up, send us an email, send us a DM. If there are things where you're like, I always wish I could have had this design on this thing that you didn't have before, let us know, because we're definitely open to ideas and looking to build out that store. But if you want to find them, you can find them either at our website or, like I said, at bit.ly/lesmerch.
And remember, we have a queer production company making queer podcast musicals with guaranteed happy endings. You can find everywhere at $dollarbeanprod.
You can also check out our website, dollarbeanproductions.com.
You can listen to all the episodes of our first show, The Flame, on any podcasting app.
And you can listen to the entire first run of Journey to the Heart, also anywhere you listen to podcasts.
If you want to help support us in making more musicals, you can join our Patreon at bit.ly/$dollarbeanpatreon.
If you want to follow us individually, you can find me on Instagram, Twitter, and TikTok at LSH Foster.
You can find me on Instagram, Twitter, and TikTok at Ellie Brigida. With that, I'm Ellie.
And I'm Lee. And let's hang out again soon.
Let's hang out.
What's up, everyone? It's Noah Daniels.
Hey, y'all. I'm JJ.
Hey, guys. It's Kat.
And we're your hosts of the Real Hauntings podcast, where we bring on guests who share their first-hand encounter ghost stories and supernatural experiences. Now on to the trailer.
I've been warned to not tell this story, but I think because of the way it ends, it's okay to tell this story, because some people say that with certain entities, to like speak of them or talk about them or in any way like portray them as powerful will attract them to other people. The creepiest thing about it to me is a lot of times it would wait for me to notice it. Like it would just lay its arm out like this, and then I'd be like, where is it? Where is it? And then I'd see it, and then it would just slither back.
For more information on the Real Hauntings, Real Ghost Stories podcast, make sure you check out real.fm to learn more about our podcast and many other amazing podcasts.